G'day and welcome back to the channel, Ginger Ninja's Movie Reviews. I'm the Ginger Ninja and these are my Trashy Tuesday movie reviews. If you're new to my channel, thank you very much for tuning in, stopping by and checking it out. You're probably wondering what I mean by Trashy Tuesdays. Well, it's Tuesday here in Australia, so each Tuesday I look at a trashy film. Now, trashy does not always mean bad, most times. It usually means it's a sci-fi, action, horror, something of that variety. Could even be a comedy, who knows, from the 70s, 80s, 90s, and so forth. And it's usually a lower budget film, but it strives to be more. It has that little something extra in it. You know, not all of them, but most. This week we are looking at American Cyborg Steel Warrior from 1993. Now, before we get into that, I do want to say a big thank you to all my new and existing subscribers. I do say it every week, but I truly do mean it. The support that I've seen from these reviews, thank you so much. It means the world to me. Anyway, let's get on with it. This film was directed by Boaz Davidson and stars Joelara, Nicole Hansen, and John St. Ryan, among many more. Well, not that many, but there are main three. The plot, and this is direct from IMDb, so you can blame them for this one. After a devastating nuclear war, the last fertile woman on Earth joins forces with a tough renegade warrior to fight a team of deadly cyborgs and save the human race from extinction. Yeah, they're part right. They're not all wrong, but they're part wrong as well. So, yeah. There's no team of deadly cyborgs. It's one particular cyborg. Yeah. Anyway, I guess they have to sell it somehow. So, before I get into it, there will be spoilers ahead. So if you haven't seen this one, honestly, you're not missing much. Now, this film actually has the distinct honor of being the very last film released by the infamous movie production duo Menahem Golan and Yoram Globus. Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, that's for you to decide, because what a movie to go out on. Now, if you've ever wondered what the Terminator would look like with only a fraction of the budget, a dose of 90s B-movie charm, and slightly more cyberpunk wasteland aesthetic, then American Cyborg Steel Warrior is here for you. This film is a very curious relic of early 90s direct-to-video action film. It's cheesy, it's grimy, it's somewhat watchable if you're in the right mood. And surprisingly, no nudity. Now, there was a big story behind this one with Nicole Hansen. She actually stated at one point that she almost quit the movie because they redid the script and there was like a nude scene and a sex scene every 5 minutes. The original script had none of that, so when she threatened to quit, they reverted back pretty quickly. There's more to it, and you can read the whole story on that saga, I guess you could call it. But let's look at the movie and let's wander into the wasteland of American Cyborg Steel Warrior.
Tuesday's never gonna plan. 80s are in a blitz of Dan. VHS takes down midnight fan. Sci-fi 9 years leads them through the night. Alien wars and a neon fight. Android streaming, cutting freaking light. Trashy Tuesdays, it's a pure delight.
All right, so looking at the cast, and we've got Joelara, who's best known for playing Tarzan in Tarzan the Epic Adventures, and he does a solid job as our stoic hero. He's a strong, rugged presence and carries himself with the necessary charisma for a post-apocalyptic warrior. And look, while the script doesn't give him much depth until the reveal at the end, he still delivers a very committed performance. And look, while Joelara does his best, the rest of the cast is quite weak. The performances range from stiff to over the top, with some truly cringeworthy line deliveries, especially in that opening sequence in the science lab. And one of the characters, Carp, I think her name is. Yeah. Wow. And look, the dialogue is often very generic and uninspired, and it's full of cliched one-liners and exposition dumps which aren't necessary. And it's not to say that people like Nicole Hansen, they do a very decent job with the material that they're given. And she does portray a very determined survivor, but her character lacks any depth beyond her role as the chosen one carrying humanity's last hope. And then there's our titular antagonist, who is very underutilized, very forgettable, and very robotic, and not in a good way. Unlike Schwarzenegger's Terminator, this guy lacks the presence and the menace. His performance is more wooden than intimidating. And as a trained martial artist, which you wouldn't actually know from the very slow and clunky fight choreography, it's just one area where they really fail to utilize him in the role. Now, John St. Ryan does his best to act like an unstoppable killing machine, but there are just things about it that just don't add up, like the way he just casually walks after people. His robotic movements are very inconsistent. Sometimes he's stiff and mechanical. Others, he's just like a regular dude strolling down the street. And let's not forget that despite supposedly being an advanced machine, he gets taken out by some of the dumbest, most basic tricks imaginable. And he growls. It's not like he's pretending to be human at any point. He is not unlike the Terminator, which is an infiltrator unit. He has skin, he looks human, but there's no need for him to look human. He doesn't infiltrate. He could be a endoskeleton or one of these guys. He could be like this, but no, he's not. Why, you ask? Money. It's cheaper to have a human as a robot and just put in some funny colored contacts. It all comes down to money, and they didn't have the budget to truly develop a cyborg warrior or a steel warrior, whatever it is. So on to the directing and the writing, and the plot is highly derivative of the Terminator with clear influences of other post-apocalyptic action films. The story follows a very similar structure. The hero protects a vulnerable woman from a relentless robotic pursuer. It's nothing we haven't seen before, and they're having to make their way through this dangerous wasteland. There are very few surprises along the way in this one. And look, while this premise is decent and it can work well in these style of films, this film never truly explores its wasteland setting, and that's something that is required. There are hints to a deeper story, such as the oppressive rule of the machines, Austin, joelara, his big reveal at the end, humanity's last hope. There is more to this world, but it's never fully explored. They remain underdeveloped. The characters too are pretty much one note. Very little emotional depth in any of them. It's the action that consists of uninspired chase sequences with the cyborg slowly pursuing Mary and Austin in a loop. It's constant, like he's walking after them, they stop. He's walking after them, they stop. He's walking after them, they stop again. It's very repeated, like it's that repetition. It lacks any intensity or variation needed to stay engaging, and it just draws you out of the film. Now, I will say one highlight of the film was the overall production quality, which, while noticeably cheap, the film successfully conveys the bleak and ruined world, albeit in a very generic way. It looks good. You think about abandoned warehouses and factories and dark alleys and dim lighting. This one has it all. It's dark, it's grimy, it feels desolate and devastated. And then there's also the music in this one, which I want to touch on now. It's like there's a lot of some sort of Latin Gregorian monks chanting. What's up with that? Okay, so I'm going to elephant in the room. This title card, Steel American Cyborg Warrior. Yeah. What? Look, the effects in this film are noticeably cheap. The cyborg villains' robotic elements look laughably bad at times. Yeah, the film clearly struggles with budgetary constraints. There's no denying that. There are parts where the cyborg, well, there is a part where the cyborg gets shot in the eye near the end of the film and is pulling away at it. Just looks like they've just slapped a bunch of latex and there's like green goop that's bleeding. But other times when he's bleeding, it's like white blood. Like, think Aliens, the androids in Aliens, they bleed this white, milky-like blood. That's what he bleeds prior to this. And then all of a sudden, he's got this green goop out of his eye. Yeah. I mean, there are some squibs used for gunshots, but nothing too over the top. There is a bunch of cannibalistic mutated humans. We see one partially obscured face of the leader, which I think his name was Leech. I think that's what he was called. But the prosthetics used look pretty decent. It's only a small scene, though, and while it looks good in that scene, it doesn't cover the entire mess it's made of the effects. So now on to rewatchability, and look, I am sure this is one that I have seen before. Back in the heyday of video rentals, it definitely just seems like one that I would have watched. But do I remember it? Nope. Am I likely to rewatch this one? Also no. Look, it's got nothing to draw me back in. Its action scenes are clunky. The pacing drags in a lot of places. And due to the repetitiveness of those chase scenes, it lacks that pacing to keep you wanting to watch it. Even movies like Cyborg, which is one of my least favorite Jean-Claude Van Damme films, there's something in that film that makes me want to watch it again. And this is missing that. Final verdict. American Cyborg Steel Warrior is not a great film, but it isn't entirely without merit. It offers some entertainment for fans of low-budget sci-fi action, particularly those who enjoy 90s B-movies with a cyberpunk edge. However, the film's pacing, slow action scenes, derivative story, weak supporting cast, and cheap production values hold this film back from being a true hidden gem. There is something with this film where for just a little bit more would have been really good. Now, while there is still a certain B-movie charm to American Cyborg Steel Warrior, unless you're a diehard fan of 90s straight-to-video sci-fi action, this one just isn't worth your time. Overall, for a score, American Cyborg Steel Warrior gets a 3 out of 10. There you have it. That is my review of... I'm not going to say the title again. Anyway, if you've seen this film, let me know what you thought of it down in the comments below. Am I being too harsh on this one? There was something in it. It was blah. Honestly, that's probably the best way I can describe this film, is just blah. Nothing to it to really make me root for the characters. Nothing to make me want to really enjoy this one. So yeah. Anyway, if you enjoyed it, let me know what you thought of it down in the comments below. If you think it's, yep, 100% you're right, let me know as well down in the comments below. Anyway, look, before I dribble on too much, thank you very much for watching. If you haven't already, please do hit that thumbs up button. It'd be much appreciated. And of course, if you haven't already and you've listened to me carry on about this craptacular movie, hit that subscribe button. And if you want to see more of me, hit that notification bell so you're notified every time I do release a new review. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Have a great day. Bye.
Like Big Bushy, teach a ninja on the prowl, smacking on pretenders with a southern caramel growl. 60-second flicks, reviews hotter than the sun. Sword master underwater battles never done. Rocket shot, steady hand, cold as ice. Critics in the crosshairs, he don't think twice.